I started to do a huge research on photography in Germany in the 20th century, and it became after a while quite obvious how many artists did typologies in the 20th century Germany. Starting with an artist like Karl Blossfeld, who transfer botanic typologies into photography. One of the second big figure in the era of typologies is August Sander, which shows different groups of people and their social background, their cultural background, their gender, their different classes, and they are brought together under certain categories and groups. The Bechers started to do photographies in the early 60s and started to portray the disappearing industrial landscapes in Germany. The Bechers later on were then the first teacher of photography in Düsseldorf Academy, and there are also several of their students like Thomas Struth, Andreas Gursky, Thomas Ruff or Candida Höfer or Simone Nieweg, who all studied with Becher and developed quite own voices which are coming out of the tradition, which the Bechers were quite rigid in photographing everything in black and white. Most of them started to work in color and also were quite experimental with the different kinds of formats. As you see, for example, in works of Andreas Gursky, which put in one work several typologies. Or somebody like Thomas Ruff, who portrayed a whole generation of artists which were the same age like him in a way portraits have never been done before. This exhibition shows a lot of classical photographers you know, but also artists like Rosemarie Trockel or Isa Genskun, who may be more known as painter or sculptor, but also had a conceptual approach to photography and also were referring in their work the typology ideas of other artists. I think the world is so rich that it's sometimes interesting to narrow it down to a certain aspect which you can concentrate in one or the other typology. The exhibition ends with maybe one of the biggest typology of the 20th century, which is still an ongoing project by Gerhard Richter. He called his Atlas, where we shown 3 different series, which also representing, which I thought is important, the Holocaust in the exhibition. And you realize that throughout the impossibility of representing or showing the Holocaust in the art, it became also something which is quite rarely shown. And I think it shows also how important it is, especially nowadays, to be confronted with these images, which are also part of the 20th century in Germany. I think we are living in a time where everything becomes more and more fast and accelerated, and it's really important to slow down and to look out for similarities instead of making the differences which are there bigger and bigger, and more seeing what we all, as part of this planet, we have in common.